Yes, quarterback position. We've covered at this point wide receivers and tight ends, I believe, and running backs.
Yeah, and running backs.
Quarterback position. I'm saying buy Kirk Cousins. The reason for that being Kirk Cousins is sneakily quarterback 10 on the year. I don't know if people knew that. Bye week's already gone. Quarterback 10. He's got Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen as his receivers. Tyler Conklin's whatever. But, Kirk Cousins is someone who has consistently performed and outperformed expectations, but for some reason is always undervalued. Now, he's also one that we're going to get to a few other people on this list. I know they drafted Kellen Mond, but I don't think Kellen Mond is that guy. Frank would probably strongly disagree with that kind of opinion, but I just think Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback. He's an above average quarterback in my eyes. He's someone that also doesn't have a terribly difficult schedule. I know he struggles against the Packers, and they play the Packers one of their weeks. But to me, Kirk Cousins is the one that I think will maintain value. I think he'll produce for you when you need it. So, I don't know. Kirk Cousins, he's my buy.
I like that buy. I've always kind of been a low-key Kirk Cousins fan. I do think you're going to have to pay up, though, because he's kind of gone from that, he's probably worth an early second, to now he's in the void. He's in the, you want a first.
It's going to take you a late first.
To get that.
Look,
he plays the Packers next week, and second to last week of the season this year championship, or is that week? What's going on here?
Championship is week 17 this year.
Because you're completely right, JT. If you're buying him, you do get 2 Packers weeks, and with the way the Packers defense has been playing A and B, the history, I would not want to start Kirk Cousins either of those weeks. I think that's a good point and a little bit of a cautionary thing for him.
Yeah, I mean, you get to the championship, though, anything can happen in the championship.
True.
I think, though, he does have, while we're talking about the Packers weeks, I mean, he has the Lions and he has the 49ers, which he could perform against. What you're saying about price is, someone else I really liked, I still do like, but feeling much less confident about is Baker Mayfield. I think they're in like that similar tier where it's just like with Kirk, at least like he's good, like he's solid, but you don't know what his future really holds. With Baker, he's okay, and you also don't know what his future holds, but he's young, and so that's why their value is like very similar in my opinion. To me, if I'm looking to compete and I see a rebuilding team, I think switching Baker for Kirk Cousins is a deal that you could probably do, and it's a deal that I think I would advocate for at this point. That's just my opinion. I don't know about you guys.
That's a real interesting trade. That's an interesting trade.
Flipping Baker for Kirk.
All right, well, I'm going on to mine.
Frank has like 5.
Want to keep doing this. I'm going to go for like the lower tier Kirk Cousins, I'm going to call it. And that's Jimmy Garoppolo. And in this price range, there's almost 2 guys you can get. So I'll almost combine it because there's Jimmy Garoppolo and then there's Cam Newton, where I think they're going to cost around the same. Jimmy G might be a little bit cheaper, but here's the situation. Jimmy Garoppolo has produced all right in the games that he's played. I think he's a serviceable quarterback too, especially because that offense is starting to figure things out. Brandon Ayuk is out of jail. George Kittle is back. Debo's good, right? Offensive line is playing all right. Like, they're starting to figure it out a little bit, and they're starting to get rolling. The other thing, too, is that as of right now, it seems like Jimmy G dying at the end of the year is kind of priced in, where I don't think that's the case. I view Jimmy Garoppolo more so as an Alex Smith than I do some quarterback who, after the season, is just going to become a backup.
So you're projecting him to be traded to another team to be a bridge quarterback for another team.
Yeah, traded,
like
released, and signed. I think that right now Jimmy Garoppolo is good enough to start next season, and I think there's a realistic shot that he can start the season after that, and he can kind of move around. Maybe he finds a home somewhere, or maybe he is just this journeyman like a Ryan Fitzpatrick, but considering we've seen guys like Teddy Bridgewater, Ryan Fitzpatrick, to name a few among others, right, float around and stay relevant. I can only imagine a guy that has gone to a Super Bowl and not only that has had stretches where he's played very well. I think he'll be able to do that, and you're getting that at a very, very favorable price if you need a quarterback too for this year and like next year.
Well, I'm a Trey Lance truther, and I personally believe Trey Lance is going to start at the end of the season, but it's hard to deny the price that Jimmy G is at, where you could trade Devin Singletary straight up according to Heap Trade Cut for Jimmy Garoppolo, and his end of season schedule is, I think, unmatched for the easiest schedule.
Yeah, I think what is it? Even though I am on the wagon of, I think Trey Lance is their guy next season and moving forward, I think they're going to keep Jimmy G in for the rest of this year because they're still in the playoff race. Like they're 4-5. Carolina's in that 7th spot at 5-5. They're going to stick with the veteran quarterback.
But see, this exact conversation is why I think that Jimmy G is a buy.
Yeah.
Because you can't mention Jimmy G without saying Trey Lance.
The Vikings, Seahawks, Bengals. That's they have the Jags this week, but then Vikings, Seahawks, Bengals 3-week stretch following that.
Jesus Christ!
It will be what determines is going to happen. But after that, when you get to the playoffs, you got the Falcons, you got the Titans, and you got the Texans in the championship game. And to me, I don't know. I haven't done enough research, but I think that's the unrivaled easiest schedule in terms of quarterback against, fantasy defenses, however you want to describe it. But yeah, and then Cam. It's Cam. I don't know. He's got that rushing upside.
Yeah, he's like the anti-Jimmy G, right? That's a very much we think that he has high-end quarterback one upside. A late 2nd round pick as a team. Let's say maybe you're just looking for a third quarterback, or your quarterbacks are just average and you need a guy that does have insane upside. Well, if you're trying to make that championship push, I could easily see Cam Newton being one of those players that you're like, oh man, I really wish that I acquired him off of waivers, like in redraft, right? Like if you acquired him off of waivers and you're that fringe playoff team, he could easily be that player to kind of push your team over the edge and make you a championship contender. Considering you can get that done for probably a 2nd round pick, why not? It's just, unlike Jimmy G, you're thinking that Cam Newton is only going to be relevant for the end of this year. And that next year, it's going to be a very similar story to this offseason of what happens with Cam Newton.
Yeah, that one I agree much more with.
Yeah, same.
All right, who's your other one, Frank?
Someone put Taylor Heineke. That's not mine. I put because we're kind of going in like descending order of value, right? Because Kirk Cousins will cost the most. Then Jimmy G and Cam Newton cost around the same. Maybe Cam costs a little bit more, but regardless, that kind of fits that. Okay, we go from 1st round to like 2nd, early 3rd. Now we can go into real dart throw Taysom Hill. Purely because if he does end up playing as the quarterback, because he has been banged up a little bit, so maybe that's one of the reasons. Okay, maybe Sean Payton really likes what he's seen out of Simeon. Okay, but let's just say that Simeon gets hurt or starts playing like crap. If Taysom Hill becomes the quarterback, he's a low-end quarterback 1. We've seen it before. Maybe a high-end QB 2. Regardless, right now he's worth pennies. He's probably around waivers. He's definitely rostered, but he's closer to a damn waiver spot than any relevant draft capital. So if you're looking for like a 4th quarterback or maybe a desperation 3rd quarterback and you don't want to give up anything, I just check to see if you can pick up Taysom Hill like that throw-in price or for like a 4th or something.
Players ranked around him on Keep Trade Cut: James Washington, Tommy Tremble, Albert O.
Nothing.
It's throw-in price.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that price, I like it.
So that's
and
if you're like
or something.
Really scrapping the bottom of the barrel. You're, licking the floors. Okay, go find a Taysom Hill.
Us floor lickers, we love Taysom
Also,
Hill.
don't lick the floors, please. Well, that goes to be said. I personally, I have never bought a quarterback as a contender, as like I'm just going to go buy this guy for cheap. I have always operated under, if I'm going to buy a quarterback, I'm just going to pay up and get the good players. To me, like that's worth doing. So that is something to be said as well about the segment, is that I feel like you should definitely try to splash out some stuff to get that legit quarterback if you don't have him in these super flex leagues, because you can keep patching up the hole, but if you don't have an elite quarterback, that's going to really, really hurt you.
Have you looked at floors, though? Have you looked at any floors?
I have not been licking any floors. That's because I invest in my quarterback position, so I don't have to go out there and start licking floors.
That's the second Frank PSA to not like any floors.
Noted non-floor licker Frank. All right. Which one do you put Taylor Heineke on here?
That was.
Who do you think it was?
Looney.
Listen, I've been on the Heineke bandwagon for a year. So I don't know, like. So the end of the season, especially towards like the playoffs stretch, where you'd really be rooting for them to play well, the offense is going to get a lot more healthy. They're going to get Diami Brown back. They're going to get Logan Thomas back. They're going to get Curtis Samuel back. That's 3 pretty good weapons added to the Washington offense. He's had 8 starts this season, in which in 4 of those 8 starts, he scored over 20 fantasy points. He provides you a bit of rushing upside, and I think he's someone you could still get at not really an expensive price, because I feel like everyone just kind of assumes he has a starting job for the rest of the season. I feel like everyone just kind of assumes they're getting a new quarterback next year.
Mitch.
I'll take Heineke over Mitch, but even though no disrespect to Maserati Mitch, I think he'll probably end up starting somewhere. But so with Heineke, I still think he's going to have their record good enough where they're not going to get one of the top guys in the draft. If they want to draft someone kind of later first round, maybe a Malik Willis falls or something. We have to see how those quarterbacks play.
What's up with you and Malik Willis, Linus? Is he
well
at first?
Well, no,
Yes.
because I think Howell and Corral are probably like the 2 most likely to go early. We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But with Heineke, like he's been good in like fantasy wise. You can argue how he is as a real life quarterback, but for a contender buy right now, in half of his starts he scored over 20. He has always a little bit of a rushing floor with him. The offense is just going to get more healthy, and they've been playing well recently. They just beat Tampa Bay, I know like people have been shitting on them, but that's still a really good defense.
Yeah, well, to help your point too, Linus, their schedule it's not the worst in the world.
They play the
divisional. Yeah, it's a lot of divisional games, and their division is not that great. So that could definitely help them. I mean, one with Taylor, I think his best game came against the Giants, their second best game. I know they played one more time. Yeah, sorry, Jake.
Jake,
completely forgot. His value also is not egregiously high like I thought it would be. I mean, I'm sure it's probably higher than what it's listed here, but it's KJ Osborne, Jalen Reagor, Julio Jones, Robbie Anderson is what
that list of players. What? Didn't KJ Osborne just score 0 last week?
I'm sure. There's a lot of fluctuation around there.
I mean, to be fair, so did Julio.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you Julio's not scoring for another 2 weeks, so I don't know. All right, Taylor Heineke, you kind of convinced. I mean, I'm not going to go out and buy him based on that, but I don't hate it. Moving on, last guy in this, Derek Carr.
Yeah, that was mine. I think he's a very similar type of player here to like Kirk Cousins, where he's not the flashy guy. He's not super young. He's 30 years old, and he's a guy that just consistently puts up that, high-end QB2 numbers, and he's a guy that a lot of people want to move off of because the Raiders are just a mess right now between firing Gruden, the whole Ruggs thing. He's not putting up top-end numbers. So his situation, I think, is pretty stable, but at the same time, if they went out and made a big move for an Aaron Rodgers, I don't think anyone would be that surprised. But he's a guy for the remainder of the season. Speaking of schedules, his schedule is very easy moving forward for the remainder of the year. And I think he's QB 15 right now. And I think similar to Kirk Cousins, so maybe slightly less than Kirk Cousins, probably a high-end second-round pick. Probably gets the deal done for Derek Carr here.
I definitely agree with it's not going to take a whole ton to get him. I want to see his end of season schedule because I do think his value right now is a little bit of a low. So I like the idea of buying low on him.
In weeks 15, 16, 17, which is the fantasy playoffs, he plays Cleveland, Denver, and Indy, none of which are great, none of which are bad.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Denver's at home, which would be the toughest one.
Yeah,
he plays Kansas City week 14 also.
That defense can't stop anybody.
He's QB 15. Like, and I think he's played well enough this year where it's like I wouldn't really be worried about Derek Carr not starting next year. Listen, I'm assuming it's going to be on the Raiders, but if it's not, he's definitely going to be starting somewhere. He's still easily a top 30, but probably even higher QB in this league. So I like the buy. What's his price around right now? JT, do you got it?
I do not currently, but I'll have it in 2 seconds.
I just asked because I know you have Keep Track pulled up.
I do have it pulled up. Derek Carr is currently ranked around Rondale Moore, Carson Wentz. One of these is not like the other. Kadarius Toney and Ryan Tannehill.
If you can flip Derek Carr,
what is it in terms of draft value? Just straight up draft value.
If I was to guess, I would say that's the void between an early second, late first. But let's see.
Yep, very similar to Kirk Cousins.